And so, when the morning light softly pierced through the window, Oksana's parents were working in the yard, doing their usual chores. They didn't immediately notice how much time had passed, and their daughter was still not around. Of course, she always woke up earlier, but this morning something was different. A feeling of unease, like a heavy burden on their hearts, lingered, and her father, noticing this, kept looking toward the door again and again. Eventually, deciding that they couldn't delay any longer, they entered her room. The first glance at the bed made their hearts freeze in their chests. Oksana's body lay motionless, like a soulless doll. At first glance, it seemed like she was just asleep, but the unease that hung in the room made it impossible to feel at ease. Oksana's father approached the bed, his hand trembling as he tried to wake his daughter. But what he felt under his hand was not what he had expected. The cold skin, which showed no signs of life, was a real blow. Oksana was not breathing. The mother, standing by the door, fixed her gaze on her daughter's body, and her heart stopped. Almost collapsing to her knees, she moved closer to the bed and, placing her hand on her forehead, felt a coldness that was beyond comprehension. How could this happen? She, young, full of energy, alive and determined just yesterday, and today she was gone. The parents began trying to revive their daughter in any way they could, but they knew it was too late. They grabbed her hands, waking her up again and again, but no attempts brought any results. Oksana remained forever silent and cold. And then, at that moment, when despair and fear gripped their hearts, they understood. Their daughter had left this world, and no prayers could bring her back. It was a terrible, bitter loss, one that took not only a young life, but also a part of their souls. They couldn't understand how this could happen. The girl was so full of life, cheerful, brave, and full of hope. How, why? The parents' tears knew no bounds. They knelt beside her bed, hugging her cold body as if this were still reality. But all they could feel was emptiness, a void that overwhelmed their hearts. How could this happen? How could she leave so early? Her father couldn't hold back the tears, looking at his daughter, who was no longer breathing. All these years he had watched her grow, becoming more mature, and still no parent is ever prepared for such a blow from fate. The mother, hiding her face in her hands, cried out loudly, begging God to give her at least one more chance to speak with her daughter, to ask why she was so scared, why she had left them without hope. And although it was painful, and the grief from the loss had no limits, the parents knew that they would have to come to terms with this tragedy, even if their souls refused to accept this truth. They knew that time could never be turned back, but every step they took, every tear they shed, was a memory of the girl who was full of strength and determination, but became a victim of something much stronger, something they could never understand.